Soft skills can be learnt from books, during conversations, and in teams. We all need them, so how can you develop them? Let's explore. I hope you're having a good week. I wanted to jump on this morning just to think a little bit more about critical thinking. And why is it so hard? Is it because we live in this age of AI and digital social media, and we're being bombarded with information all the time? I don't know about you, but sometimes you see something and only to see days later it's misinformation, it's fake news, or to recognize, this is not quite what I thought. And whether you're in the academic world or in the professional world, we need to consider our critical thinking as a soft skill. Are we actually engaging with our thoughts in a way that is constructive? And earlier this week, I wrote an article on it, and I want to highlight a couple of things from there. So Gemini AI told me when I asked, what is critical thinking? Of course, now the Google and Gemini are paired up there. It said critical thinking is the intellectually disciplined process of actively analyzing, evaluating, and synthesizing information to make reasoned, objective judgments. It means not taking information at face value, but rather questioning assumptions, recognizing biases, and exploring different perspectives before forming a conclusion. So this week in my work in soft skills, I'm preparing some materials and things, and I found 4 different sources. Of course, this rubric that I've often quoted by Kubatova from the Pulaski University in Olomets, which I met the researchers and the authors of the book recently. It was quite a delight to meet with them. And of course, there are 30 soft skills there, which is great, but that's a lot. Let's go a little bit deeper. So I'm also adding now and thinking about the EntreComp and the LifeComp frameworks that the European Union put out. And I'm also interested in project management, just as an upskill for myself. And I'm noticing also the International Project Management Association has some core competencies, a 4th framework, you might say. So I put it all into AI, and I'm going to present the findings of that next week to my colleagues. But what was interesting is asking for, where are the overlaps? Where is the content repeated? What's new content? What's different? What's this element of understanding? So rather than just taking, what I got from ChatGPT, I also put it into Gemini Pro. I put it into Google LLM, and I was looking now across the 3 platforms of AI. Am I getting similar results? So again, now I'm using my critical thinking. A lot of students, they'll just use one platform. Boom, they put in the assignment task, or they get a little bit of information. They don't stop to think, is this correct? Am I getting similar results on other AIs? And I was doing some listening during the week and came across someone who said, let AI do the work, but don't forget your intelligence. So critical thinking here is that intelligence piece. It's about saying, right, is this objective? Is this reasonable? Can I question this in another way? So even just thinking about that this morning as I present next week to my colleagues, okay, can I create a more holistic picture around critical thinking? And in the case, of when we're thinking about skills, when we think about critical thinking, as I just explained, we often think about problem solving. So this is another allied skill. And so it becomes a little bit messy in the waters, you might say, to recognize, well, what are the skills, what is core to critical thinking, and then what are maybe some of our allied skills. So this morning I was thinking about, digital literacy is an important part of critical thinking. Can I use my AI tools effectively to get different results, to sort of triangulate my thoughts and feelings? And these documents, by the way, also come based on research and various things too. So there's a connection there to those who are studying this area. Creativity, as we come up with new solutions or we think outside the box. How can I blend things together? Social intelligence might be really important if we're interacting with others in a project and required to think critically. How can that interact with things? Time management is another skill that could be very useful to think about. How can I blend what I'm doing in time, make sure that I'm acting in good time, of course, to allow that information to be critically assessed. When I'm under time pressure, it's much easier to go, right, well, I've got a result, let's get moving. But that's not the idea if we're really utilizing critical thinking with good time management. And then, of course, conflict resolution is also another area that, when we start to think critically, we may come into conflict with others or conflict with our information. So we have to dive a little bit deeper. So if we go back to that definition, not taking things at face value. And so we really have to question. And I think a lot of younger people coming now into university have not had that chance to really look at something at face value and say, is this a reputable resource? When I was young, Wikipedia was absolutely considered a no-go. Even the internet at one point was considered a no-go because we had books, we had studies, we had academic articles and various things, teachers, experts, of course, as well. So we need to continue in that same vein. Even though the tools have changed and we all have access to similar information, is that information of a quality source? And even now, academic articles are being faked. So you really have to double down on going and questioning, the sources, the research, looking towards bias, looking towards, what is misinformation that's out there as well. So, there are, of course, a number of other soft skills and within the rubric dimensions that one could consider. But the other real strong dimension to consider out of the 5 that I've looked at in the article would be bias. What are your biases? Are you able to think more holistically? Are you convergent and divergent in your thinking, therefore? So these are other skills or other sort of allied aspects that we want to consider as well. Where is your bias getting in the way? Am I biased towards certain AI tools? I've tried a few others this morning through access that I have, but didn't have enough tokens or something like this. So I needed to consider, okay, is that still channeling me towards a specific bias? And we do know that these AI tools are also biased. So the next step is really to share this information, as I'm doing now with you, but also with my colleagues at my university, and say, right, is this the right direction? Is this something that we ought to consider and go a bit deeper into? So we bring back that human element into what we're doing with others as well. So I think this is really an important thing to remember, especially around critical thinking. So don't take things at face value. Make sure you check your biases, check in with others, and double check and triangulate your information as well.